Good evening and welcome to this regular meeting of the Northside Board of Trustees. Before calling this meeting to order, the board would like to take just a moment to briefly review some of the rules for conducting our meeting. The order of business for this meeting is set out in the agenda. One item that you may notice on the agenda is the consent agenda. This item includes items that are considered routine and are of a recurring nature. All the items listed under the consent agenda will be acted upon in one motion. If there is a consent agenda item which anyone here would like to address, please sign up to speak to that item, and we will pull it from the consent motion and discuss it separately. The purpose of our meeting is to conduct board business, and for that reason it is held in public. It is not a public forum. However, we do provide the opportunity for audience participation. If there is anyone who would like to address the board during an agenda item or citizens to be heard portion of the agenda, we ask that you please complete a sign-up sheet located at the entrance to this room. This is so we do not overlook anyone who would like to speak to the board. We will review the rules for adjusting the board later in the meeting. Is there anyone here who would like to sign up to an agenda item and has not done so? I see no one racing back to the back. So the meeting will then be officially called to order. Please stand as Trustee Karen Freeman leads us in the invocation and pledges of allegiance.
Almighty and merciful God, we ask your guidance and blessings upon this board, students, parents, patrons, teachers, and administrators, as we are assembled here this evening in the common pursuit of this great nation's wealth, our children. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas,
one state,
under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Karen. This regular meeting of the Board of Trustees is authorized in accordance with Texas Government Code Sections 551.001 through 551.146. The next item of business on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Yes, ma'am, Mrs. Chumley, members of the board. A few things to report tonight. One is I want to congratulate Jay Sumter, the principal at John Jay High School, and the staff at John Jay for a great 50th anniversary celebration. They had a tremendous turnout of past graduates, some of whom were there when the school opened 50 years ago. It was a really neat event. Also at John Jay, more recently, we held our annual science fair there under the auspices of the Science and Engineering Academy. And again, I want to thank the principal there, Gretchen Bly, and her staff for an amazing science fair. I know Janice and I and some of the staff got to go, and some of the projects are absolutely amazing. And some of the kids have continued their work as they've kind of moved up, matriculated through at John Jay under the leadership of industry experts, and the projects are absolutely amazing. So really thrilled about that work. Thanks to the members of the board for your support of the Foundation's annual meeting recently. Really had a great year for the Northside Education Foundation, and their annual report will actually be coming to the board next month in January. We continue to make progress with our Citizens Bond Committee. That group actually has its last meeting this week ahead of a report that will be coming to you in January. I'll say, just as a preview, there is strong support for a bond in Northside in 2018. I want to shout out to two different teams at one of our high schools. O'Connor Volleyball actually qualified for the state semifinals, and not very long after that, O'Connor Football qualified for the state quarterfinals. And that is two amazing seasons from some great coaches and fantastic kids. So congratulations to them. I'll say at this time of year we get the opportunity to go to a lot of great campus events around the holidays to celebrate with kids, especially in the fine arts. And it just makes me really, one, it makes me proud of our kids, but it makes me proud of our emphasis on arts education in Northside. You just see a great display of that, perhaps more at this time of year than any other. So in that vein, and in lieu of a video moment, we're going to do what we traditionally do at this meeting, and that is invite one of our fine arts groups to come and perform. And so when they get to the door, I'll introduce or reintroduce the Jones Middle School Choir under the direction of Dorothy Milburn.
Here, here.
They just don't look like middle school kids.
I'm so sorry. Haven't been at one of these meetings before, so I don't really know what to do. But we want to thank you guys so much for inviting us. This is such an honor to be here on this evening, for you guys to recognize us at Anson Jones Middle School. It is such a pleasure to be here, and we hope that the two selections that we have for you guys this evening that you enjoy, and it brings you guys some holiday spirit. So thank you again, and we hope that you enjoy.
Sure we will.
Before you leave, if any other trustees had anything they wanted to say? Mr. Lopez?
I would just like to go ahead and say, every year, for Christmas, I mean, it's always so good to see the spirit in all the children when they come out and they sing. So I really enjoy hearing you guys. You all just put me in that much more of the mood for Christmas. So thank you very much for coming out and singing to us. We really appreciate that. I'd also like to thank Dorothy. Thank you very much for the hard work that you've done. And James Hare, there you are. Please let James know that you guys are doing a great job out there, and thank you for your hard work and your coordination of this event. So thank you guys.
And I wanted to ask, is there anyone here associated with anyone?
Principal.
Great. Well, we're glad to have you here with the support as well. All right. Well, thank you very much. It was a wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you, ladies. That was beautiful.
It was. In fact, we just want you back every board meeting.
Great job. Great job.
Oh, Karen, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. As they walk out, I was just going to say it was truly enjoyable as they sang right before the board meeting. It's been a busy day for all of us, and as we go about our daily activities, and it's just a time to stop and appreciate the spirit of the holidays and just their wonderful talent.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
I wanted to let y'all know that Bobby is finishing up in an elementary school and will be late, and Carol has a family commitment out of town, so she will not be with us this evening. Okay. Dr. Woods, anything else?
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
That's very good. All right, the next item of business is the board members' reports. Do I have any trustees that want to share? Ms. Freeman?
Yeah, just real quick. We had a TASB board meeting a couple weeks ago, and one item on the agenda for member services and a committee in which I participate was we talked about the superintendent of the year process at the region level, and we did have some recommendations to come before the region centers regarding the process. And one thing also that we heard from the service centers was the short timeline that they had to get the interviews together and trustees together, because our in the past, our deadline for nominations had been so close to their deadline for turning in the region winners. So that deadline's going to be pushed up earlier this year, a month or more. So that may be something we need to keep in the back of our heads. So that was a very good discussion. The Helotes Chamber recently hosted their annual awards banquet, and the O'Connor JROTC presented colors, and the theme was a Veterans Day theme. And Emma Baggs from Jordan Middle School now sang the national anthem, and I talked about her a few meetings ago. My husband and I had gone to lunch at a local restaurant, and we were standing in line ordering, and then I heard I heard the national anthem in the back, and I turned around, and here's this young girl in the corner just spontaneously singing the national anthem. And so I went up to her afterwards and said, great job, and her mom voluntarily said, she does this all the time in restaurants, at the H-E-B. So I had asked her to come and sing. She did a great job, and then the JROTC did the missing man table ceremony. So that was very nice for the chamber. At the same time, that same evening, I was honored with the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Helotes Chamber, and pretty much from my work here at Northside, so I really appreciate the honor. But it gives you cause to pause when you get an award like that. I said, well, maybe there's some group of people that either think I'm done or want me to be done, But I certainly appreciate the award.
There it is.
Oral evidence.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, very, very deserved, Karen.
Thank you.
I mean, you were single-handedly with getting that chamber really going and running, and
There were a lot of people involved.
Yeah,
in that,
but you never take enough credit. So you did a wonderful job with that. Ms. Reed, anyone else?
I pushed my button. Did you not get it?
Yeah, it's not working. Okay,
Okay.
another thing to put on, we need Ms. Reed's light working. Anyway,
Okay.
Katie,
Um,
then Joseph.
Well, I was actually going to mention it if Karen didn't, to say that, yes, we are very proud of her because she was very instrumental in the organization to begin with of the Helotes Chamber. And so it's good that she's been recognized for that. And don't think of that as the end of your career, okay? I want you to know, years ago, I got a Lifetime Achievement Award from the United Way, and I said, oh, does this mean I get to quit now? No way. So it just means you keep on going, and yet they recognize that you've done such a great job. So thank you for that. And speaking of honor guards, we had the J Honor Guard also for our ACOG annual meeting last week, which was over at the Norris Center, which if you're not familiar with that, it's kind of where it used to be Central Park Mall. And they did a fantastic job, and the mayor was the person that gave the speech that day. And that's when they also give out awards to different entities that have submitted something. We did not submit anything this year, and it's the first time probably in a couple of years that we have not, because we probably would have won something again. But I figured we had enough going on without having to put that one together again this year. So, but it was a good meeting, and lots of people were there from all over the 13-county region that encompasses ACOG. So. I think at the last meeting I may have mentioned that we were going to be planting a tree out at our new school.
Harlan.
No.
Callison.
Callison,
No.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm getting old. I just lose names.
It's just a long day, Katie, that's all.
Welcome, Bobby.
Thank you.
At the Callison Ranch, we did get out and plant a tree, and it's a beautiful tree out by their playground, and it's kind of close to the edge there so that they didn't have to get in the mud to plant it too much. And they actually had each of the children that were there from the one classroom shovel a shovel of dirt in, which was the first time that they've done that, and that was really special, I think, for those children as well. I also did attend last week I'll pass this down for you all to see, the service that they had for one of our namesakes. The Martha Mead Elementary School is named for one of our past very deserving people from North Side who actually pretty much started the community ed department here at North Side. And pretty much all of our community ed people were there to honor her, but it was in the area where she was still staying, where she was in an apartment at the Air Force Village there. But then they also have an assisted living place across the hall, and that's where they had her small service. And there were 3 speakers at it, and guess who they were? Our ex-superintendent, Ed Rawlinson, and Carolyn Wernley, who also with Martha together helped to start that program, and then their daughter. So it was just the 3 of them. So it was a real North Side connection, and lots of people there from North Side. It was a very special program, and they bought a whole bunch of poinsettias and made each of us take one home.
That's nice.
So I'll pass that down for people to look at. That's all.
Okay. Mr. Medina.
Thank you very much. I also wanted to recognize our students during the recent John Jay 50th year anniversary. The many alumni that not only attended, but also that are committed to Northside, the committed staff, and the great presentation that our students provided for the entertainment and our speakers. Also, to go over, the Northside Education Foundation had their annual donor recognition banquet and meeting, recognizing all of their community members' efforts in awarding over 125 awards, totaling up to nearly $80,000 to teachers and students in classrooms for their innovative ideas and sharing what's going on in the classrooms with their awards. As well, last week was memorable, not only for San Antonio, but also for our students. Snow came down Thursday evening. And the communication that we have with Twitter and the activities that our teachers, you know, taking our students out there to enjoy it, because I know it's probably the first time they've seen it before, as well as my children. And I thought, you know, the teachers to go out there and have our students and our children, you know, experience that was wonderful. And I know it's going to be memorable. I know my sons were talking about how their teachers, and they're going to remember it because it was probably their first time that their teachers explained to the process and what took place, and the learning they got from that experience. And also congratulate the O'Connor community, the parents, the local efforts, the students, helping those student athletes, the teachers. What a wonderful season that they had for their fall sports, and we look forward to all our other schools also having an exciting athletic school year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bobby or Gerald? Bobby?
Just a couple of quick items. Just a reminder to the board, for those that can make it, tomorrow we're having the Bexar County School Board Coalition, our meeting/holiday festival. And Our Lady of the Lake University is going to host us. They're sort of a new partner that want to engage a little bit more, so we're going to go over there, and so it should be a good occasion.
And did you pick up the Northside Bling?
Yep, got a note to get those, so I'll make sure to. Well, I'll have that.
Okay, so we don't need to bring
Nope.
anything?
No, don't need to bring anything.
All right, and
Okay.
where at Our Lady of the Lake?
It's the main building.
Main building.
Yeah,
And what time?
6 o'clock. Main building, 6 o'clock, which is right next to the chapel. Don't go by the map. Sorry, somebody needs to work with Our Lady of the Lake on the map. But no, I didn't say that out loud. Anyway, yeah. And the only other one I had, I think, sorry, it was a little bit late. I was actually at a school event, but I'm sure everybody's enjoyed the holiday celebrations. But I saw one unique one. Hoffman had their choir perform, their strings perform, and then they had their jump rope team also as part of the holiday occasions.
All right.
Those are some. I know they've been advertised. Those are talented kids. That's what I want to learn when I grow up, is how to jump rope. Other than that, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I just had something. Today was the annual Holmes Huskies luncheon, and it was great. I want to thank Brian for coming, and a big shout out to Coach Morales, Coach Velasquez, and Coach Trevino. They, I'll have to admit, I was concerned about my Huskies when Coach Salas went to Harlan, but these three gentlemen have really stepped up and kept the momentum going, and really still recognize the importance of creating good role models and just really upstanding young men, that it's not about what's on the scoreboard all the time, though that's important. So I just really want to thank them, because I think they've done a tremendous job with doing that. And they've been very patient with a nosy trustee, too. So, and then Coach Molesky, go Panthers. Oh my gosh, what an exciting, that was great. Saturday was lots of fun. And Joseph, I remember what it's like to have children being a trustee, and it was so much fun to have your children with us. You got great kids. And if y'all didn't, Joseph's littlest boy, Joseph had told him about, if you mess with the bull, you get the horns. So he ran and got as far away from his father as possible and was going like this. Anyway, it was really cute. That was lots of fun. And Joseph, thank you. And I apologize to the board. I've been out of commission. I got strep, which I hadn't had since I was a kid. And it really, really just knocked me down. So I've been kind of out of commission. And so, Joseph, thank you very much for speaking at the NEF Christmas or December meeting. I really appreciate you stepping up and doing that. Thank you. And that's everything that I had. So I think we're ready to move on. So the next item of business on the agenda are the consent agenda. Is there a motion to come before the board?
I would just ask Ms. Chumley real quick, we would ask that we pull item D. We need to come back to the building committee with some additional information. That's the only change we'd recommend.
Oh, okay, so we didn't have them in the superintendent's office?
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
We
All
need a
right.
little more time.
So, is there a motion to come before the board for the consent agenda with removing item D?
I would move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda minus item D. Is there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it, motion carries. The next item of business on the agenda, Monica, any citizens to be heard? Okay, moving along. Facilities and operations, Mr. San Miguel.
That's another one we would pull, Mrs. Chumley.
Okay, so did y'all just decide you just didn't want to have a board meeting tonight? And that we're
we
just moving
weighed the
along?
option of just calling and saying, we'll cancel it. But this is another one that we owe the building committee some additional information and hope to bring this back in January.
Great, all right, then really moving along. We're now, Mr. Galindo, we are on the Moore Elementary School attendance zone.
Okay. So, Ms. Chumley, Dr. Wiz, members of the board, at the October meeting, we brought you the initial proposal for Mora Elementary that'll open up in August. After that, we had a work session with the SBAC, the School Boundary Advisory Committee, and then subsequent to that, in November, we had the public hearing. And so here to give you a summary of that meeting and the recommendation from the SBAC is Mr. Garcia. Fernando Garcia is our chair. So, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, we're glad to have you with us.
Thank you. And since it's a short meeting, I'll try to keep it brief. But good evening. My name is Fernando Garcia. I'm the chair for the School Boundary Advisory Committee. We are here this evening to present the School Boundary Advisory Committee's recommendation on the boundary change that would impact Baylao Elementary, Leak Elementary, and populate Moore Elementary School. There are many general issues in establishing a school boundary that require attention. The goal of this boundary change is to relieve overcrowding at Baylao Elementary School and future expected overcrowding at Leak Elementary School, as well as to populate Mora Elementary School and balance future enrollment between these schools. As you know, each time we do this, we follow the decision principles that you task the SBAC with, such as maintaining neighborhood integrity, reviewing all growth projections, program accommodations, and student needs, cost effectiveness, and frequency of change for students. We had one public hearing that was held at 7 p.m. Wednesday, November 29th at Luna Middle School with a total of 17 SBAC members attending. The Mora Elementary School proposal would move approximately 361 students from the Baylao Elementary School attendance areas and approximately 87 students from the Leak Elementary School attendance areas to the new Mora Elementary School, which is located at 1520 American Lotus. Prior to the hearing, 288 letters were mailed to families of students from grades E through 4th grade who might be affected by the proposed boundary zone change. As of November 29th, no written comments were received by fax, email, or regular mail. There was one phone call that was received. The one phone call was from a parent of elementary age asking if the students would attend Mora Elementary School together, as they only received one proposed boundary information letter. The staff explained that the district only sends one letter per family and that all of their children would be attending the Mora Elementary if the proposed boundary was approved. Two parents did attend the public hearing that was held at Luna Middle School. The family resides in the Coolcrest area, and prior to the meeting asked if transportation will be provided to Mora Elementary. They explained concerns that their community does not have sidewalks or a safe area for students to walk along the road, and are concerned about the children's walking even though they are very close to the school. They also stated they have asked the county if improvements were to be made along the streets, but they indicated there was no plans for this in the future. The staff explained that due to the lack of adequate walkways, students living in the Coral Crest area would be eligible for transportation to Mora. The family thanked the staff for addressing the questions and indicated that they would not stay for the meeting as they had no further questions or concerns and looked forward to attending Mora Elementary. As a committee, we discussed the one phone call staff received, the transportation questions from the one family had, and there was no written communication. No families attended the public hearing. We briefly reviewed the map of the proposed Mora change and referred to our discussion in the first meeting regarding the following things. All communities In the proposed boundary, we would experience a decreased travel distance to their schools. All of the communities in the proposed boundary will be able to get to Mora Elementary using neighborhood streets and will not have to travel off the Trenco Road to get to school from their homes. The boundary was relatively compact and adjacent to the district boundaries, thus giving limited alternative options. Since there was no additional feedback from the community and no patrons stayed for the public hearing, we inferred there are no major concerns for those impacted by this boundary change. We recognize that parent voices are significant in boundary changes. However, in this proposal, the lack of voices spoke clearly to the community. Only communication from the families, where the families asking about the clarification on the letter and the family that was asking about transportation. The SBAC reviewed the information and all available data and based our decision on how they are related to growth at Northside ISD. We look to the future effects of the recommendation and believe this recommendation will serve the children of Northside well. We feel that our recommendation meets the needs of NISD while addressing future overcrowding at the existing schools and future growth issues. So for our recommendation regarding the Mora Elementary School boundary proposal, we voted 16 for, 0 against, and 1 abstained. The administrative proposal for the attendance zone change was approved. This proposal moves 361 students from Bailao attendance area and approximately 87 students from the Leak attendance area to the Mora Elementary School effective August 2018. We believe that this recommendation will serve the children of Northside well. Any questions?
Do any trustees have any questions? I don't think so. Thank you very much for your service. We appreciate it.
That's the easiest one we've ever
Yes.
had, I think.
This one looks good.
Give us
I
our
just
stamp.
had one question for our staff. So it's relieving Leak
Bailao.
and Bailao. Okay, and no impact on Ott?
No.
Nope, just Leak and Bailao between the two.
Correct.
Okay. Is there a motion come before the board?
I-
Oh, wait, you know what? Policy committee reviewed this, correct?
Yes, and then it came before the board.
Right, and then we saw it. Anything out of policy committee to share?
It was a long time ago, Ms. Chumley. Not that I recall.
That's okay, because it did come before us for our review before going to the boundary committee. All right, any motions come before the board?
I move approval.
Oh, I didn't, Karen, I didn't see your light.
You're fine.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the proposed school attendance zone for Mora Elementary School. Any questions? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it, motion carries. That was probably the easiest boundary attendance, the attendance zone, so that's
2 for 2.
wonderful.
Okay,
Thank
yeah,
you.
You know it can't last, right? You know.
Yeah.
Thanks for your work, though.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next item of business on the agenda, Mr. Galindo, do we have any class size waivers?
Yes, ma'am. Tonight we ask for approval for 15 class waivers. Our kinder through fourth average is still well below 22 to 1. It's at 20.14. However, we have had a number of classrooms that we have exceeded and gone to the 23rd. So our ask is for approval of 15 waivers.
Ray, are we just getting more kids into the district at a late date? What is driving?
Two things, and you may remember, we discussed a little bit of liberalizing the transfers for our families a little bit more this year, allowing families to stay at the home campus.
Fine.
So that has led to a number of these, the majority actually is just our efforts to keep the families there and being a little more liberal with the transfers that we have.
Okay. Do any trustees, Ms. Reed?
Well, I think there was another reason also, because the budget crunch that we were under, we did not add a couple of extra teachers that we could have at schools to make it smaller class sizes all the way around. So we're reaching that limit a little quicker this time.
Yeah, there's that, and there's also as we've discussed, if we can avoid creating new transportation routes, there's just lots of reasons to go to 23 if necessary. And as Ray indicated, the average is still not even close to 20. It's not even close to 21, much less 22.
kind of interesting. I just recently was talking to somebody in my neighborhood who sends their child to a charter school. She said, "Oh, and the class will only have 24 kids in the class." And I said, "That's interesting. We only have 22." So I would move approval of the waiver.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the request for maximum class size waivers. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, the motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Galindo.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item of business on the agenda is the board continuing education credit. As board president, it is my duty to announce that all of Northside's trustees have exceeded the required hours of continuing education. Completing the annual required continuing education is a basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member under State Board of Education rule. The minutes will reflect this information, and it will be available to the local media. Trustees have until April 30th of 2018 to garner any additional training if so desired. So thank you all for doing that. I know, Karen, you have told us that there's a real push in our legislature in relation to training. So I think that speaks highly that all of us have exceeded what is required.
Well, and this is, we are required to do this by law, to report the number of hours that we have and where we're deficient.
Yeah, so we're not deficient anywhere,
Yes.
so that's great. All right, next item of business. Dr. Woods, the resolution regarding the culture of voting.
Yes, ma'am. As the members of the board know, we have made a real push all the way from going back to August when folks were just coming onto their contracts around and educators voting, educators understanding what the issues are out there and becoming active and voting. This resolution is actually suggested by TASB, and as we look through it, I think that in Northside we do many of these things as a matter of course, but I think it adds real value for the board to consider a resolution that really appreciates the notion of a culture of voting in our organization and encourages that all the way through our organization. I think that adds value, and so for that reason we would ask your consideration of the attached resolution.
All right, and can I ask the board for their preference? Do you want us to read the resolution? Have you read it? What's y'all's preference? Read it? Sure.
I'm happy to read it
Okay.
if you want. You want me to?
Well, I was going to have,
Launch.
yeah, I was going to, if you'd like to, I was going to have the board secretary
Oh,
read it.
absolutely, whatever.
There we go, Gerald, if you don't mind.
I just read that.
Oh,
So we have here the resolution of the Board of Trustees, Northside Independent School District. Whereas the Texas Election Code, Section 276.001 and 276.004 protect an employee's rights to vote. Whereas exercising one's right to vote is a civic duty that should be encouraged and promoted. Whereas the Board of Trustees of Northside ISD seeks to create a culture of voting and encourage all district employees to model responsible citizenship for the benefit of students. Whereas public education and the educated citizenry created by public education are the greatest safeguards to the state of Texas and the Constitution,
and
continuation of a free society and the institution of public education is best protected by a robust and informed electorate. Now therefore be it resolved, 1, the Board of Trustees of Northside ISD supports a culture of voting and seeks to encourage maximum participation by district employees and eligible students in the election process. 2, the Board of Trustees, that the Board of Trustees of Northside ISD authorizes the administration to take steps necessary to ensure maximum participation by district employees and eligible students in the election process, which may include creating district communication that inform employees and eligible students of the importance of voting, creating district communication that inform employees and eligible students about when and where they may vote, creating district communication that encourage employees to participate in voter pledge programs, creating district communication that encourages employees to use third-party tools to learn about candidates, position, and public education, conducting campus and district-wide assemblies that promote a culture of voting, implementing administrative procedures that provide time during the early voting period for employees to vote, implementing no-cost incentive to promote voter participation, and encouraging district and/or campus coordination with volunteer organizations such as the PTA, the PTO, or retired educators groups to encourage and facilitate the district's efforts to create a culture of voting. Adopted on this day of the 12th day of December 2017 by the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Gerald. Do any trustees have any questions? If not, can I have a motion to come before the board? Ms. Freeman?
Yeah, I just have a couple comments. There is a movement across the state to empower our educators to vote and become more involved in the process. And as educators as a group, there's an extremely large number across the state, and by them paying attention and they could be a force in the next election cycle. It's creating such a stir across the state. There are some organizations that are, obviously this resolution in no way endorses any candidates or anything like that. It's just talking about the process, and there are some political groups across the state that I think are real concerned about this, so I think it's a great idea. I would move approval that we adopt the resolution.
All right.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution regarding the culture of voting. Mr. Blunt?
Yeah, just a quick comment, request. Can you bring this up tomorrow night with the other boards so we can see
Sure.
locally how many others have? Okay, great. No, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lopez?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of what Karen was saying. And I think what's most important is that everybody get involved in the process. That's really what this is about. It's just creating, being included in the process and helping understand that, voting is important. So I think by us doing this is really important for us. We are leaders in our district, and we need to exemplify that. And I think we're doing a good job by creating this resolution to be able to do this. I think it's really important. So my hat's off to all of you guys for approving this. So
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I remember when we had a one-term governor because what was the name of the test? Teachers had to test, and I can't remember what it was called, but that's the one time that teachers actually throughout this state rallied together, and that was a one-term governor with that testing. Everyone had to test in their subject area, I believe, or something. But I wish that teachers would recognize that the situation is as dire now as it was then, and take this serious about really recognizing what our elected officials are doing. So I think I agree, Gerald, it's a really good start. So we have a motion before the board. Seeing no other questions, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you. The next item of business on the agenda is the TASB Legislative Priorities Survey.
Yes, ma'am. Ahead of grassroots meetings, which actually begin this month, TASB's asked school districts to consider prioritizing issues. And so we had a good conversation on the document that we sent out a week or two ago at Policy Committee today. And with the board's permission, I think Mrs. Freeman might best summarize that discussion.
Ms. Freeman?
Thank you, Ms. Chumley. Sorry. Thank you, Ms. Chumley. This provides TASB, our responses here provides TASB to help create healthy discussion at some of our grassroots meetings. Our responses here are certainly items we're asked to select that would concern our school district specifically, and advocacy positions that, advocacy priorities that we would like to see discussed. In policy you see there are a number of opportunities here. And staff presented, we had a discussion over the options. Staff presented us with 9 specific options, and you'll see those marked with an X. In general, this certainly doesn't limit discussion at any of the grassroots meetings, but what TASB will do is compile all the results of trustees from across the state. And again, it helps begin discussion at those meetings. You'll see the X's as they pertain to our school district, and it was the recommendation of the committee to bring to the board this selection. There's 9 of them. We have an opportunity to select 10, and I noticed that in policy, Dr. Woods, you took some of our legislative priorities that we talked about a couple years ago, and we had a healthy discussion about those. One other one that we selected as a committee was to support legislation that allows independent school districts to use accountability information to hold themselves accountable to their communities rather than a one-size-fits-all state mandate. So it is the recommendation from the committee to adopt these and bring them to TASB. And I appreciate the work of staff to kind of hone some of this down in the discussion by the committee. TASB presented the survey. The survey went out approximately a couple weeks ago. The deadline for the survey is actually December the 15th. I had been told that any school district that wanted to respond as a board and couldn't do so by that date could ask for a deadline, but I think it is in our best interest to go ahead and get this in early so that it's considered early in some of the grassroots meetings across the state.
And so just to clarify, Karen, so with the extra one, we are at 10.
Yes.
Okay. And let me see, do any trustees have any questions? Okay, then I had one. I'm really worried about the facilities funding that they keep talking about for charter schools.
We did talk about, there's one.
It is, but I'm worried about what's coming with it.
There's one specifically here that says charter schools in general, and what we talked about is there's an opportunity to elaborate on our selection, and we talked about putting some specifics underneath that particular bullet point, and that certainly could be one of them.
And it could be, we could add facilities funding. We had mentioned the other specifics we had talked about was serving a population of students that looks anything like the neighborhood in which the school is located, and the ability of charter schools to ignore the discipline elements of the Texas Education Code. But we can certainly add facilities funding. I share the concern.
Yeah, if you don't mind, if we could add that. And then, Brian, explain to me, switch from defined benefits to defined contribution retirement plan. I'm not understanding.
That came up in our conversation at policy as well. So teacher retirement is set up as a defined benefit plan. So when a teacher reaches eligibility and decides that they're going to retire, they're eligible for a pension for the rest of, potentially for the rest of their life,
Right.
depending upon how they set that up. That is a very, in this day and age, a very, very much a talent attractor to public ed in our state. A defined contribution plan works more like a 401k.
Right. And is there talk about,
Absolutely.
Okay.
For many sessions.
so then that just is an added interest that teachers need to know that they're looking at turning TRS into a 401k. So you need to vote, register to vote, to go out there and find out and ask those specific questions of candidates. How do you feel about it? Because I bet half of them would say they have no idea even about it, and they need to, because that would be a real incentive. I mean, the retirement program that teachers has is by far the best out of any occupation that I know. And being on a 401k myself, I'd much rather have the TRS program as well. So, good, thank you. I just didn't understand exactly what that was. Ms. Freeman?
Yes, Ms. Chumley, we do have some teachers in the audience. I wonder if we could take a short period of time for perhaps someone to read the items that we did select. It might be of interest to
Would,
those here.
as policy chairman, would you do that for us?
I'd be happy to. Creation of a new school funding formula, specifically update formula weights, at-risk, ELL, special ed, increase in state share of public education funding, vouchers to include education savings accounts, tax credit scholarships, grants for special populations, charter schools in general, A through F ratings, increased bond information on ballots, and truly there's certainly a movement to, for schools that go out for bonds, to have a whole host of items actually on the ballot for the voters to read in advance. And so it could amount to a booklet at the ballot box. So discussion about that and limiting what is on the ballot regarding bonds. Switch from defined benefits to defined contribution retirement plan, as we discussed, accountability issues, and then the one that I did read regarding being accountable to the community rather than a one-size-fits-all state mandate for accountability.
Thank you. And I'm so glad to see that bathroom regulation was not checked. Though unbelievable that it's even on the list. Okay, enough soapbox. All right, do any trustees have any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I don't believe I have a second.
Second.
Oh, this is for discussion only?
Yeah.
Oh, well, very good. So we don't have to move on it then. I thought we had approved this. But
I'll go
thank you,
ahead
Linda.
I'll go ahead and fill out as we've discussed, and submit to Tasman
All right.
on behalf of the district.
Great, thank you. Dr. Woods, future agenda items.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Chumley, in the blue folder at everyone's place, we've got a number of items. The one on top is actually an RSVP to our January board appreciation events, the board luncheon on the 12th, and then the board dinner on the 18th. If you could put a check in those that you're available for and give them to Ms. McGee, that will help us get those organized. Linda also put in your folder a copy of the continuing education record in case you want one for your own records. Obviously, there is a copy of future agenda items. I'd point out to the board that we've got a called meeting in January of 2018, mostly due to the desire to have a conversation with the board about a potential bond recommendation.
I'm sorry, called meeting.
On the 9th of January to have a discussion around bond recommendation and a couple of other items probably. And then there's a whole host of invitations in your folder as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did any trustees have anything that they wanted to bring forward in relation to future agenda items? Yes, ma'am.
The invitation?
Yeah, Ms. Reed,
Yeah,
if you want to
you
go
know,
ahead.
just a comment, I guess, because we're doing something different with the Reddick Center this year for the first time. We're doing twice a year a celebration of those students who have finished our program and have become gainfully probably employed, or at least are living on their own. And so they're now having what is called the beginning of adult life, an exit celebration. And I think that's just a really nice way of putting it. And it's been helping, La Cantera is helping to sponsor that, I understand. And that's coming up on January 12th, so that's reasonably soon also.
Yes, ma'am.
After we
is.
get back from vacation. So
Right.
just was very pleased to see it because it has not been on our agenda up until now, so.
One thing, Ms. Chumley?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Reed.
I'm done.
Sometime, Dr. Woods, maybe we can poll the board as to when it would be a good opportunity to set up a we get started with all the other things that come after the first of the year regarding a work session for NSBA
SBA.
presentation.
SBA.
Yeah, we've had that conversation.
We've had that conversation because December seemed to be such a tough month for all of us.
But if we don't get it on the
Yeah.
calendar,
What I'm thinking too, if the rest of the board is in agreement on this, is even if we end up where we have, a team of 3 to start, working through what that presentation's going to look like, and then we can certainly, bring it back and have the discussion with the board if we can't find a date, because I know November and December we've tried, and there just wasn't a date. So if y'all are all right with that, for us to start that piece too. Thank you for reminding me about that, Karen. All right, so that leads us into the closed session, and we thank all of y'all for being with us tonight, and we hope you have a wonderful Christmas and holidays. So the Board of Trustees on December 12th, beginning at 8 o'clock, will convene in closed meeting in accordance with Texas Government Code Sections 551.072 and 551.074. Okay, so the Board of Trustees on December 12th, beginning at 8:15, will convene an open meeting. Are there any motions to come for the board on the appointment, or do we want to do all of these at one time? Ms. Reed?
I would move approval of the appointments as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the appointments as presented in closed session. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, the motion carries. We are now adjourned at 8:16.